Welcome back to Everyday Builds. Today we upgrade this shop lighting with some UFO lights. So my current situation is I have a 3-car garage and it only has 2 E26 light fixtures in here, which is just your basic screw-in light fixture. When I first got it, there were just the standard bulbs. You couldn't see anything in this garage, so I did go ahead and I at least upgraded to those kind of adjustable looking lights. I think they're about 9,000 lumens. Those have worked pretty well up to this point. It definitely made a difference in the garage. I can see a lot better than I did before, but it's still, I've got a lot of shadows, dark areas. When I'm filming and doing woodworking, you want to see the best you can. So I think it's just time for an upgrade. I did quite a bit of research on what the best lighting would be for my situation. Whether it was kind of your standard shop lighting that has the fluorescent tubes, which now they make LEDs for those, so that's a pretty good option. I just don't like the fact that they kind of hang down from the ceiling and it's just an area for dust to collect. Secondly, I looked at putting in more of the fixtures I have now, but that's kind of, it's got some constraints to kind of what bulbs you can put up there and the amount of output you can get. Third, I looked at something like Shop Nation put up, which is like those LED bars. You kind of can put them in a configuration on your ceiling and they give off quite a bit of light. But what I ultimately settled on was actually going with a style of light that is becoming pretty popular, which is a UFO light. If you've never seen a UFO light before, they get their name because, well, they look like a spaceship.
Oh my God.
I chose this option because of its versatility, honestly. You can plug them in anywhere. You just have to have an outlet. So you can put them anywhere that you can get an outlet to. It's very easy to put in outlets when you have attic access, which I do in my garage. They're also very versatile because they come in all kinds of different wattages and lumens. This one is a 100 watt, gives out about 15,000 lumens, but you can get them all the way up to, I believe, 30,000 lumens or possibly more. But for my 11-foot ceilings, this was the perfect option for me. I did a lot of research, checked out a few different brands based on price and just quality of the build. This one had awesome reviews on Amazon. It's all metal, really nice, and really not that expensive. I think I ended up getting these for around 40 bucks a piece. So if I ever do have any issues, getting another one and replacing it, or even adding to the lights that I have, won't be a big deal. If you're interested in picking up some of these yourself, I do have a link in the description below. Before we get into the installation part of this video, just know that I am not a professional electrician. I do know enough to install some outlets in the ceiling through my attic access, but just know that I am not a professional. With that being said, here's what we're gonna need for today's build. We're gonna need some old work electrical boxes. We're gonna need some Romex 14-2. We're gonna need 4 outlets. We will need 4 hooks to screw into the ceiling to hang the lights. I am also going to be installing a motion sensored light switch, and we'll finish everything off with faceplates. And of course, we will need the 4 UFO lights. So the first thing I have to do is actually go ahead and mark where I'm going to put all the hooks to hang the actual light, and that'll give me my location for where I have to put all of the outlets, and then I can go up into the attic and get all those wired up. These measurements are actually based on a diagram that I made on my computer so that I could lay out the lights and make sure that the way the light dispersed would fill the entire garage. Once my locations were marked, I needed to unscrew the current light bulbs and actually remove that light fixture so that when I got up into the attic, I could remove the electrical boxes. You'll notice here that the electrical box is actually hanging below the ceiling on this side of the garage, and that's because by this point when I was drywalling the ceiling, I knew that I was going to be switching to these lights, so I just pulled the electrical box down knowing that I would be cutting it out pretty soon anyway. Last step before going up into the attic is to actually cut out all of the holes for the new electrical boxes, so I went ahead and cloned myself to make it a little quicker. Right here I'm actually taking a small wire cutoff and I'm going to stick it up through the insulation so that when I'm in the attic, I know exactly where these holes are. Now that I'm up in the attic, I need to go ahead and remove this light fixture box so that I can run these wires to the new electrical box. Now that that's out, I can go ahead and run my wire. Did I mention it feels like it's about 120 degrees up here?
It's a little steamy.
All right, so now I've got all my wires ran, and this is the first hole where that original light was, and this is the power source that was going to that light, and then this is wire that is running over to the next outlet. So here I'm going to wire up an outlet with both of these wires. This will be power in, this will be power out, which will then lead to the next outlet, and we'll do the same power in, power out. This is what they call an old work box. It's for applications like this where you can just cut a hole in pre-existing drywall and you can slide these up into that hole, and it's got these little tabs here that are controlled by this screw on the front, and once you slide them up in there, you just tighten that screw down, which flips this tab upwards, and as you tighten it, it draws it close, and then it's kind of like a clamping mechanism to the drywall. First thing I got to do is punch out these little back holes. I'm going to punch out 2 of them and then run these 2 wires into that, which will then allow me to slide this up into the hole. I just screw these in, it'll flip that tab and tighten down. Same on this side. See how that pulled nice and tight? Now that box is in there, not going anywhere. Now it's time to install the outlet. I'm going to go ahead and strip these wires. So outlets, they do have these little push-in terminals on the back, but I hate using those. Most electricians will tell you to never use those because it is possible for the wires to pull back out of them. I always use these side screws. And the best way to get those to stay on is to make a little hook at the end, which I just take the wire with your snips, do 1 bend, go to that bend, 1 more, and it makes a perfect little hook. 1 bend, 2 bend, perfect hook. And then for the ground wires, you kind of want to get these together. What I like to do is take one of these grounding nuts with a hole in the end. We're going to cut one of these down a little bit less than the other one. We'll cut that down. You just want to tie these together so that it's just one connection to the outlet. So that one's just a little bit shorter than the longer one. Slide this one through that hole, and then you can tighten that down. Give it a little twist, and then those are now tied together, and you've got this little piece that comes out that we can now tie into the green screw on this outlet. We're going to give it that same hook we did on the other one, so 1 bend, 2 bend, nice little hook over the green screw, like so. And then one thing that makes this a lot easier is if you get the hook going the same way that it tightens, it makes it a lot easier so that, like if the hooks around the bottom here and you try to tighten it this way, it tends to kind of spit it out. But if the hook wraps around clockwise with the way that it's going to tighten, then it really makes it a lot easier for that to tighten down and not try to push itself out. Try and tuck these wires in. So the last thing I like to do is wrap electrical tape around the outlet, around the terminal, so in case you ever have to do anything and you're reaching in here, kind of just prevents you from shocking yourself. Not totally necessary, just something I like to do. Just wrap this, make sure it goes around. And that way you can see everything is now covered by electrical tape and won't be shocked, or nobody will kind of reach in there and touch that. Another thing is with these old work boxes here, if you want to, you can snap off these little wings here. If you need it to sit more flush, you can kind of see there's a little recess in the middle here. And if you break these little wings off, then it'll kind of sit more up and flush in there. Actually, you know what, I'll just do it just to kind of show you. So like here, it's gonna land on these and it'll kind of have some give. But I'm gonna go ahead and snap these off and you'll see how it kind of fits down in there instead. A normal box doesn't have these tabs, so that's why they made it that way. So I just got some needle nose pliers here. Just wanna grab this little tab and kind of just work that back and forth until it breaks off and that little tab breaks off. Do it on both sides. There we go. And now you can see how that now fits in between those two tabs, and it'll make for a more flush face when you put your plate on. I've got this circuit tester here, kind of tells you if your outlet is wired correctly. If it's wired correct, I should have these 2 yellow lights light up. There you can see, we got 2 yellow lights, so we're good to go. So now I need to do this 3 more times for the other 3 outlets to make a total of 4. I will not show you the same process over and over again, so I will meet you back here in 2 seconds with the outlets finished. All right, so all of the outlets are now in. I need to drill for the hooks that are going to hold the lights, and then we will plug them in. In order to get, this is a pretty big hook. It's pretty tough to screw in by hand. So what I like to do is take a drill bit that's pretty close to the same size. We're just gonna basically get it started. We're gonna just drill a little pilot hole for that to go in. and then this should be able to then get started. And then what I like to do is take a screwdriver and kind of hook it in here. And you can, it's a lot easier when there isn't a camera in your way, but you can slowly kind of work it in. There we go. And just like that, we go from 18,000 lumens all the way up to 60,000 lumens, and it is way brighter in here. I also went ahead and installed a motion censored light switch. I had this in one of my previous homes and I absolutely loved it. When I walk out into the garage, the lights kick on automatically, super cool. But when I leave the garage, half the time I forget to turn the lights off, so it's set to shut them off in about 15 minutes. Which is one, gonna save me energy and will probably prolong the life of my lights. If you're interested in getting the lights that I have for this video, I did put a link in the description down below. As always, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. And if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. I'm Jordan, this is Everyday Builds. We'll see you in the next one.